Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. Hi, everyone. Today I am speaking with Kayleen Schaefer. Kayleen is a journalist and author. We are talking today about her book, Text Me When You Get Home, The Evolution and Triumph of Modern Female Friendship. She also has a brand new book out, came out March 2nd. It's called But You're Still So Young. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Kayleen, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I am excited to talk about female friendships, our history of friendships with other women. Why did you want to write this book?
I had noticed in my own life how important my female friends had become to me, but I wasn't seeing anything out there that took them seriously, that wrote about the relationship in a serious way. You know, there's all those cards of like clinking wine glasses or like women linking arms when they walk down the street. And I think that those images and that sentiment is lovely, but I also wanted to take a deep dive and look at the history and look at, you know, what we were doing to advance female friendship right now. And then the other reason was just the stories were bubbling up in pop culture. You know, like we had Broad City. I don't know there if you guys have Broad City or Girls Trip, but there were a lot of shows and movies coming out about groups of women. And that was the story. And that hadn't been that way. You know, previously it had been romantic comedies. And now we were seeing these wonderful stories of female friendship in pop culture too.
So what about, you know, our history of how female friendships have been portrayed? Like, what have we gotten wrong about that?
I actually was shocked to find out that women have been pitted against each other since medieval times, which I was like,
wow,
really? This has been going on a long time. But back then, women were told, you can't have friendships with other women. You have to look toward men. Like, women are crazy. They'll steer you the wrong way. Only a man can provide the kind of guidance you need. So this is really, really deep rooted in society. And you follow that line through, and you really do see women pointed towards men more than they're pointed toward other women. You know, the goal was to get that nuclear family to be devoted to your romantic partner, to your home, to your children. And so what I wanted to do was point out that women are saying, but no, you know, my friends are just as important to me as these other things that I've been told that I should look to and that should support me. My female friends are also a huge part of my support network.
Yeah, because I think that for many of us, we're brought up, as you said, right? Like, these are your goals as a girl and a woman. These are your goals in life. These are the jobs you should do, and these are the goals you should have for a family and a marriage and all this, or the white picket fence or whatever it might be. But I don't see a lot of examples of girls being raised to nurture friendships with other girls, loving and kind, I guess. I think that we've changed for sure, or we're starting to. But is that what you noticed too when writing this book?
I was really surprised to find out that our moms were pointed toward, you know, taking care of children and, you know, being there for their husband and working in their own career if they worked. And friends were always seen as this really indulgent, like, ooh, don't take time away from what you're really supposed to be doing to focus on your friendships. And I interviewed my own mom in the book, and she said, you know, I was supposed to be there for you and your brother, for your dad. She was a teacher, so she had that. And so she didn't have much time for female friends. And so as a younger child, I didn't see her model that for me. You know, she wouldn't be like, okay, I'm going off to hang out with my friend for the night. You're on your own. I was always the priority. And so I think that's changing now. I think women are showing their daughters and their sons that your friends can be just as important. And I think that's wonderful.
So when you look at your own history of female friendships, like you, Kayleen, have your friendships been, you know, perfect throughout your life? Or like, is this something you've always prioritized?
No, not at all. And was in fact really surprised to find myself prioritizing them. I grew up in Texas, which I'm sure you guys have the stereotype of Texas, but there's truth to that stereotype. And, you know, I was always in competition with the girls in my school. And that's kind of how I thought your relationships with women had to be, competitive. And then as I continued on, I found myself working in an all male environment at a men's magazine. And so this idea that, only one woman would, like advance, or only one woman could work at the all male workplace, that was just how I thought that I had to be. I just thought, like, no, I don't. And I really positioned myself as like a guy's girl, and just thought, like, I'm not like other girls, I'm cool. You've heard all of these things, and I'm sure a lot of you listening have said them to yourself. But then I realized, as I started to become closer friends with women, that wasn't true. And that was just my insecurity about being a woman that was coming out and wanting to align myself with men more than with women.
Okay, so this is important because when reading your book, and I have it open to page 100, and it's exactly what you're talking about right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being in that workplace, it's male dominated. There are other women that work there, but we've been led to believe that there's not enough for all of us. I feel like it's still happening, right? I worked in a workplace too where women were pitted against each other all the time. And we were taught, or groomed, I like to say, that there isn't enough for everybody and every woman wants your job.
I get a lot of women writing to me saying, I was a guy's girl. I thought that I had to beat out other women. I thought we were in competition. That is still very prevalent, that thinking that there's only one room for one woman. And it is this thinking that, like I said, goes back a long time, that women, think that the right place to be is with the guys, or that's where, they should be aiming to be. But for myself, in addition to, finding these female friendships in this support system, I also really came into my own when I started writing for women. Like, I never would have written this story in my 20s because, men wouldn't want to read this book. But then, you embrace, well, I'm a woman. I want to tell stories that women want to hear. I want to tell our stories. I don't want to tell a story that I think a man would like. And so it was really freeing to me to finally be like, I'm tired of pretending to be something I'm not, because it was really uncomfortable.
How do we fix this? How do we fix this as women?
The idea of supporting each other is super important. We have to throw off this mentality that we have to compete with each other, and instead realize how much stronger we actually are together. Like, I get this question a lot about what's different being around a group of women versus a group of men. And it's hard to articulate exactly, but there is this feeling and this strength that you have had the same experience. And so you immediately know, some of at least what the other woman's been through. And you can check in with each other about your experience. You can give advice. You can help. You can just innately say to that person, like, I trust you. You're going to make a good decision for yourself. And I think all of that support is invaluable and will send us way higher than just, I've got to beat her out because there's this one position for me.
Like, what brings that competition in? Because when we work together in a group, we get so much done.
Quite honestly, you have to look at, well, who benefits from keeping women apart? Not women. Men benefit from it. Men stay in their same position. They stay in power because it's much easier to put one woman down than it is to put, hundreds of thousands of women who are working together down. And my book came out around the time of the Me Too movement. It just was the illustration of what I was showing in the book, that women are using each other and are supporting each other, and we're amplifying each other's stories in a way. And the impact is just so much greater than it would be if there was one woman over there saying, like, hey, I'm the only woman you can listen to.
I find it so fascinating because a lot of us are now raising our own daughters. So how do we stop that? Because I already see it, even in elementary school, right? competition.
Sure. It's ingrained in a way that is almost hard to see beyond. When I was working on the book, I wanted to look at the phrase mean girls. But in my head, I really thought that, girls are just meaner than boys. There just must be something about girls. It just must make us mean. I was a mean girl. Um, and I started talking to experts and I started looking at this research that supposedly said that girls were mean, and they're not. Girls are no meaner or nicer than anyone else. They're just humans. And, when you're that age, you may make some missteps in how you behave and you may be juvenile, but it doesn't mean that as a whole, teen girls are just so mean, but it just comes up. I mean, you bring up teenage girls and the automatic response is like, oh, they're so mean. Why are they so mean to each other? And, they're not. They're children. They're learning their way in the world, but they're no meaner or nicer than anyone else. But that's so hard to get rid of, because even as I was writing this book and saying, my friends are so important to me, they're my support system, I don't know what I would do without them, I still thought, yeah, but I was a really mean teenager.
It is very hard. And I think that, books like yours help all of us understand it a bit more. And I think that when we understand it, we can stop it when it's in progress, right? Like I've noticed the same thing too. I say to people all the time, like, they're like, how old are your girls? And I'm like, oh, they're 10 and 12. Oh, just wait until they're teenagers. They're going to hate you. And it's like, oh, well, how do you know? Like that, again, is another stereotype about teenage girls, right? They always hate their mothers. That's like the ideal, like women not liking each other, a mother and her teenage daughter, right?
Yeah, you just think that, oh, well, this is accepted truth. This is how it is and how it has to be. But then if you look at it and you look at the reason for the stereotype, which is purely to keep women apart, and you sort of understand a little bit more why that stereotype might be so popular and who is benefiting from this idea that girls are mean. It's not the girls. They're not benefiting from it at all.
Oh my gosh, so true. Okay, so here at TELUS, we're finding different ways, creative ways to give back to the community, especially, it's been a tough year and a bit for a lot of people. And one of the ways that we like to give back is giving $500 to a charity of our guest choice. And you chose WAVA, which is Women Against Violence Against Women Rape Crisis Center. And we will be giving them $500 on your behalf. So thank you for choosing them.
That's wonderful. That's so generous. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And, I want to talk about your other book in a second, but before we do that, let's just talk about some positive examples in pop culture, because I want my girls to see positive examples of female friendships. What are some that you discovered?
I love the pair of Michelle Williams, the actor, and her best friend, Busy Phillips.
Yes!
They are incredible. They're always each other's dates to red carpet events. And whenever one of them does something, the other is right there congratulating. And those are the kind of examples that we want to see. I mean, that's the opposite of this idea that women have to be competitive. I think that Michelle Williams has said, that's the love of my life right there, Busy Phillips.
It's a subtle, supportive female friendship for people who aren't aware of their friendship. What about the 100 women you spoke to? I mean, you must have heard everything. Do you have some stories that really stick out in your head? Do you have a favorite story?
Judy Blume, the author of, books that guided me through my girlhood and may guide your girls through theirs. She and I got an interview with her, and I was so excited because she writes a lot about female friendship. And her publicist told me beforehand, you only have 20 minutes. Great, sure, whatever. I'll take 6 seconds with Judy Blume. And we were talking, and the 20 minutes closed. And she just kept talking. She just wanted to tell me more about her best friend, Mary, that they've been best friends since like third grade. And they were in their 70s now, and they were still best friends. And she just said, some of the greatest moments in her life were just, saying goodbye to Mary at the end of the night after they'd had a wonderful, just dinner together where they'd talked for hours.
I mean, I'm not surprised by that. You can tell in her writings, right? Like, I grew up on Judy Blume too. I still have all my originals in the attic. So big fan. Do you have advice for women who are struggling in the workplace or struggling with their female connections in this pandemic? I mean, we aren't seeing our friends right now. So many of us, right?
That's really tough. When the pandemic started, and when it lifted a little and we started to be able to go out and walk around a little bit, but people were still in the units of people they lived with. And I would go out and walk around and I would see people, with their romantic partner, with their children, and I wasn't seeing friendships like I'm used to seeing them. And I got a little worried, like, oh no, will this take away from the support system that's female friendship because you're not seeing them every day? But I don't think so, because for one, my best friend lives down the street and she's been a lifeline for me during this pandemic, but also like my group text has. And I think if anything, not seeing these friendship or these friends have made us realize how important these friendships are and how sustaining they are. And so if anything, I hope that, when this is all over, that they'll just come back full force and you'll really reach out and grab onto those people because you don't want to lose them again. So I hope that it will go the other way and that we'll become even more attached to our friendships because we know what it is like to not have them.
I think you're right. I think, it's the number one thing I hear from my own friend group is, how lonely we feel, right? And I think we feel that loneliness because we are at home where we're doing all the things that we are normally doing, whether it's working and cooking and cleaning and like looking after everybody in our house. But we miss our girlfriends. And I can't wait to hang out with my girlfriends and hug them and see them. And, so I think you're right about that. And I do have a lot more text friend groups where, we keep each other in touch with everybody. So I like that, Kayleen, because it's true, right? You don't know what you have till it's gone sometimes. And a lot of us have lost those serious friendships with girlfriends and we miss them. So, but you're still so young, Your new book, it just came out March 2nd. Tell us about it.
But You're Still So Young is about being in your 30s and how adulthood doesn't look the same anymore. It looks different. We're taking longer to figure out our careers. We're taking longer to get married, to have children. And because of the current recession or the recession in 2008, we're taking longer to reach financial stability. So all of these things are just a little different for us. And so the book is about approaching your own milestones on your own time and knowing that that's totally okay.
Thank you, Kayleen, so much. I love it. The book is called Text Me When You Get Home. That's something I say to my girlfriends all the time, right? Text me when you get home as they get into a cab or walk home or whatever it might be. It really resonates. And you know what, just before I say goodbye to you, I do want to say that when you and I were talking before we started recording, you said that this book, Text Me When You Get Home, is suitable for kids, girls in middle school, right? This is not just an adult book.
It absolutely is. I was surprised by how many younger readers I have and how much this message means to them also. And I think it's great because, like we were talking about earlier, this is a counter to the message that they're supposed to be mean, that they're supposed to be in competition with each other. So absolutely, teen girls can read this book.
Okay, so you can follow Kayleen on Twitter at KayleenER, so KayleenER. And check out our website, KayleenSchaefer.com. And you're also on Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm. It's I Know Kayleen.
Thank you so much, Kayleen. I really appreciate it. And again, the book is called Text Me When You Get Home, and her second book, But You're Still So Young. Thanks for listening to another episode of TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. Be sure to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for another conversation. You can also check out our website, TELUS.com/podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at TELUS Talks.